Good evening, everyone. This is Financial Literacy 101. And the lady of the house, she just run a couple of minutes behind, but she'll be with us. But tonight's discussion, I think that a lot of you guys will absolutely enjoy. And this discussion is coming from Dr. Neeley Fuller, okay? The way that he actually looked at whether it be economics, what else? Economics, education, entertainment, labor law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Everything, absolutely everything ties into money somehow, some way. So we're going to be leaning towards the economy with some of these discussions. But again, this has a lot to do, unfortunately, with the system of white supremacy. And I know a lot of you are absolutely getting tired of that. But I believe that the year 2020 with COVID-19 is the year of the awakening. It doesn't matter if you are a European American, Caucasian American, Asian American, Hispanic American, whatever you may be, doesn't mean that all this pertains to you in some sort of matter, because not all white people are white supremacists. Not all white people are racist, but we need to understand that there's a system, and a lot of people, even some African Americans, will like to believe, they will like to think that there's not a system that actually holds other races down. But according to what Neeley Fuller way of thought about this is that there's three types of people. There's three types of people in the known universe. You have one, white people, two, non-white people, and three, white supremacists who are racist, okay? Who are racist. Now, we need to understand that white people are people who classify themselves as shot. This is what coming from Dr. Neeley Fuller, have been classified as white, acceptable as white by other people classified as white, and who generally function as white in all of the 9 major areas of activity. And we're going to get into that, including economics, education, entertainment, labor law, politics, religion, sex, and war. And here's the lady of the house. Come on, sweetie. She's looking real good for you guys tonight. So oh, you can, okay, yeah, you can get through there. All right. And also we have, good evening, everyone. Good evening. We also have non-white people, are people who have been classified as non-white, who are generally function as non-white in their relationship with each other and with people classified as white. And all of the 9 major areas of activity, including those 9 areas again. Then you also have, thirdly, your white supremacists, okay, who are your racists, are people who classify themselves as white and who are generally function as white and who practice racial subjugation based on white. Non-white at any time, non-white at any time, in any place, in any one or more of the 9 major areas of activity in our lives. Okay. So let's get into it. Now, before we get into this, a lot of this information is coming from a site and also an interview that was done on producejustice.com. I would like to give credit out to them for doing this segment and this piece, because this is very enlightening informational activity. Now, I went over some of the notes here. She hasn't. So she's totally uneducated in this particular form. So that way we get those very untainted, unbiased, unadulterated, sound bites and comments. So we're going to first go over the economy and how a system of white supremacy, according to Dr. Neeley Fuller, operates. Okay. And you're going to not agree with a lot of this information because it's going to be new to you. It's radical and revolutionary. But I want you, again, to take a step outside of the Western world that we live in. And I want you kind of look at it very in a broad spectrum in your perspective, so to speak. Okay, here we go. Economics means that the correct distribution and or balance between all animals, persons, places, plants, etc. Economics in the correct sense is the sum total of all of the thought, speech, and or action used to produce maximum efficiency in revealing truth in a manner that promotes the establishment of justice and correctness in all areas of activity. Economics also means using all things, thought, speech, and or action with maximum efficiency with the objective of eliminating racism, aka white supremacy. Economics does not mean simply acquiring savings or spending money. Economic is not a tool of money. I'm going to say that again. Economic is not a tool of money. Money is a tool of economics. We understand that economics is not just about money, okay? Economic is the result of people speaking and acting effectively in the production of justice and correctness. It is not simply how money is handled that determines economics. It's a matter of how everything is handled and to what end. Economic pertains to how in all time energy is used. So I know that was a lot. That was a mouthpiece. But according to how economics and white supremacy, especially in the Western world, all collab together, what is your take on how or if white supremacy is involved in economics?
I believe it is to a certain extent, because my knowledge of white supremacy means that in general is that we as, how can I say this? We have no power as far as financially at the top, and economics is being controlled by people with power, with people in money and positions. And so as we try to climb that ladder, we're unable to because of gender, because of racial bias and things of that nature. So white supremacy does control, to some extent, just economics in general. And I think it, like I said, it's because of us being unable to climb that ladder or whatever. I mean, some of us, a very few of us, slip in and are able to climb the ladder and do very well. But if we look at the 13% as a whole, or more than that, I think it's 13%.
Yeah, 13%.
But it's a very small number. So I think that the numbers show that there is a certain cap or a certain percentage on us as far as that is concerned.
And I'm just going to put my little piece in here as far as economics is concerned, is that I want you guys to look at all the major organizations and businesses and corporation in the Western world. Of course, we're going to focus on America, but I want you guys to name one Black person who is essentially at the top. Okay, because in a system of white supremacy, you're going to find out that the position that people hold and held are ran by white supremacists. They only allow a certain number of people of any particular race to actually succeed and thrive in a system of white supremacy. This is how they hold their power base. Now let's move on, because we have quite a bit of information to go over to kind of put a good perspective on this thing so you guys can really just open your eyes. Let's talk about education. Now, listen to this. Again, you're not going to agree with all this information, but it's very, very eye-opening. All people, both white and non-white, have people among them who have great knowledge and understanding of many, many things. Non-white people, however, do not consolidate, constructively utilize, or efficiently exchange the variety of things that they learn from time to time. That means we don't collab, we don't talk, we don't exchange information. I just want you to think about yourself, your circle, and your group, okay? That we actually doing a lot of these recordings. They do not record and or store what they learn. They allow what they learn to filter away. They do not pass on constructive information willingly, deliberately, constantly, and efficiently to those who need it the most. This is one of the reasons much of what non-white people once knew has been lost and or forgotten. Nearly all of the knowledge that non-white people receive while existing among or in contact with white people has been present to them by white supremacists for the purpose of serving white supremacy. It is correct for all victims of white supremacy, non-white people in general, to know and understand all that white supremacists teach. Stop right there for a minute. Everything we know as non-white people. I'm gonna keep it right there with how Dr. Neeley Fuller puts it. Everything that we know, we learned about white people before we learned about black people. Now, granted, there's an exception to the rule that some of you out there are like, no, my parents taught me this. But we know a general consensus, a general group, that most of us learned more about white people than we ever did black people. Because here's the thing. We learned about all these great white people and what they did, and the only thing they feed you is what? They feed you George Washington Carver, the peanut guy. They teach you Martin Luther King, and for some twisted reason, you probably found out of Malcolm X as a radical or a Nation of Islam terrorist. Okay, that's kind of how they label him, because he basically didn't care about all that nonviolent stuff. He's like, no, you hit me, I'm gonna hit your ass back. I'm gonna finish, and I'm going to see what her perspective is about this. And I'm gonna read that again. It is correct for all victims of white supremacy, non-white people, to know and understand all that the white supremacists teach us, as well as why they teach us, what they teach us, why they teach us, what they teach us. It is correct for all victims of white supremacy to know and understand all that white supremacy know and understand. Knowledge is neutral. Knowledge is neutral. It is how knowledge is used and for what purpose it is used that produces its value. I'm going to give you a case in point. One of the most famous things that you people know, the most famous people that you know, Christopher Columbus. He discovered America. That's the first thing you learn. But compare and contrast, Native Americans were already here. We were even taught that Native Americans were already here, but somehow we believe what the white supremacist system taught us, that Christopher Columbus discovered America. So when it comes to education, how do you think white supremacy actually operates in a society?
I haven't really thought about it like that. I do know in education, as you already stated, that we are not taught about our own history, that it's left up to us to dig deep in that area. And I never just really sat down and thought about white supremacy in education until probably like the past year or two. Just being that my son is learning about history, and he's not learning about any intricate Black inventors or anything like that.
Businessmen, doctors.
Yeah, until Black History Month. And really, like you stated again, he's learning about Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, those same ones that they were throwing out when I was a child. And even from the time that I was a child up until now, there has been Black innovators and things of that nature that has created things that we use now and today. So maybe that's a form of white supremacy, but I never thought of it until recently. So that's my take on it.
I'm just going to say this. Basically, you learn about white people for 11 months. Now, granted, they got Hispanic, Appreciation Month, Asian, Pacific Islander, but literally you learn about white people for 11 months, and then February, of course, the shortest month, you learn about Martin Luther King, Harriet Tubman, the basic people know. But I've done many videos teaching, and informing us about us. And a lot of you, I understand. I hear, was it War Profiteer? He's talking about then open up a Black school or homeschool. I mean, he actually correct. I actually believe that. But of course, he's one of those trolls who's going to try to disrupt this segment. But we're going to push on. We're going to let the trolls troll. And I know I got Neeley here. But anyway, this is entertainment. This is the third one on Dr. Neeley Fuller's list. Entertainment. Many non-white people waste too much time, energy, and money by promoting and or participating in frivolous parties and social gatherings. Most so-called social gatherings are non-white people other than excuses to show off, gossip, and or engage in nitpicking or malicious plotting. Such contacts usually serve to do little more than promote amnesty, conflict, show-offism, dishonesty, gossip, and other forms of unnecessary and destructive activity. Many non-white people spend much time and energy and money showing off to each other. That's unfortunately very true. They do this as a means of trying to make their overall effects of racism and white supremacy on their personal affairs seem unimportant or non-existent. This show-offism serves no constructive purpose. It only helps non-white people to become more pitiful, primitive, stupid, and or silly in comparison to the activities of the white supremacists or in comparison to white people in general. Among non-white people, showing off is oftentimes equated with power and intelligence. Now, unfortunately, that is the hard truth. And I agree with that sentiment. I agree with that phrase because in the entertainment industry, why do you think they're getting LeBron James, Cardi B? They're trying to gather up all these entertainers in some sort. I know LeBron James is a sports athlete, but what does they always get the NBA and the NFL do? Go out and vote because they understand that for some reason, a lot of black people, I'm not going to say majority, I'm not going to say all because I know that's not all inclusive, that we're going to listen to our entertainers before we listen to our professors. We're going to listen to our entertainers before we listen to our civil rights leaders. We're going to listen to our entertainers before we listen to prominent African Americans in the community that's actually doing the work of trying to deconstruct and destroy white supremacy. So showing off, acting silly, being stupid, trying to get attention is kind of the way we support the system of white supremacy. What do you think? I mean, we do because we're looked at as entertainers only. We're looking at entertainers, sports people. When I did give me 1 second. When I did a class about equal opportunity, I was teaching a class about not equal opportunity, but trying to combine racial divides. And I got everybody in that group. It was Caucasian whites, it was Black African Americans, it was Hispanics, it was Asian, and then we had other. And we told every group to write stereotypes about the group. They said Black people like watermelon, fried chicken, they're good at sports, they're good at comedy, and they like showing off. That is, they didn't say, they didn't say Gerd A. Morgan invented the gas mask and a version of the electrolyte. They didn't say Dr. Charles Drew did the first successful blood transfusion. They didn't say that, George Washington Carver, one of the most infamous, famous names, he made many uses of the peanut and also discovered many uses of soy by making plastic from it. They didn't go down the list of all the achievement that our ancestors, actually have done and created for this world, or the real McCoy. That term actually came from a Black man who worked on the railroad. So all these things, or Lewis Latimer, who actually worked on the light bulb with Thomas Edison, who did the filament to make it sustain more light at a longer time. They didn't say none of that because they knew nothing about Black history, but they only talk about the negative connotations and negative stereotypes that we have in the Black community. So what do you think?
That doesn't make, and I disagree with what you said, because that doesn't make the statements that they say true, because some of it has validity to it. I feel like at one point we're damned if we do, damned if we don't. Like, we are looked at through a magnifying glass, and why should we have to change who we are as a people? We are fun, we are silly, we are lovers, we are criers, we're all of those things. Some people do like fried chicken, some people do like watermelon. There's people in other ethnicities that love those same things. That doesn't mean that they're this, that, or the other. I don't feel like we're living up to their standard. I feel like they're nitpicking our living style. And so I feel like when we don't step up to the plate and try to help someone else in our community, that's when we fail. Not because we're silly or because we entertain or any of that, because there's millions of people in this world that are entertaining and that are silly, and they're not looked at negatively because of that. So I
but when we do it, we are.
And we are. And you know what? Another thing that's not said oftentimes is that those are the things, those are the entertainment business is what we're pushed to because of our talents, one, but mostly because we can't, um, we're not succeeding in corporate America. We can only get to a certain cap point,
Because we're pushed out.
because we're pushed out. And so it is systematic. I don't know if it's what you want to label it, but um, it's bigger than it's bigger than just the surface of it, and it has nothing to do with who we are. It has everything to do with what we're pushed to do in some form or fashion. To me,
and I agree with that as well.
I mean,
now going over Dr. Neely's Fuller, the way he looks at how white supremacy operates in every segment of our being. Like I said before, we went over economics, education, and now we're entertainment, and we're about to move to labor. So let's read about how he looks and talks about labor. In a social material system dominated by racism, aka white supremacy, all jobs that are established and or maintained by white people are dominated either directly or indirectly by those white people who practice racism. No person can be hired, fired, promoted, and or get in trouble on a job unless it's the will of the white supremacist. In addition, there is no such thing as a non-white person being a supervisor. I'm going to say that again. I know a lot of you are going to disagree. In addition, there is no such thing as a non-white person being a supervisor. And he broke it down. Superior advisor on a job in any social material system that is dominated by white supremacy. Only white people are supervisors, superior advisors, and or masters of all advice giving. Non-white people, however, may have supervisory titles, but in truth, only serves as a messenger, couriers of messages. Racist man and racist women, white supremacists collectively, are the superior workers among the people of the known universe. They do more work than anyone. The work of racist men and women is to establish and maintain, expand, or refine the practice of racism. They use deceit, direct violence, and or the threat of violence as a way of getting non-white people to labor, indirect or directly support of the establishment, maintenance, expansion, and or refinement of racism. That was a mouthful. He said that non-white people can never be totally a supervisor, but you can have the title of being supervisory, or you know what I'm saying? How do you deconstruct it? How do you break that down? That's a lot to unpack.
It is a lot to unpack in some parts. I guess with this description, you're gonna have to pick and choose. That's what I'm choosing to do, of what you can agree with, because I've been in management, I've been a supervisor, and there's instances where I was just the messenger. I was told what I was going to say, and it was policy, and that's what I did. But then there was times when I was in management, and I had the reign, I had the key, and it was like, you're the expert. You teach how you can teach, and the rest is up to you. I mean, I was teaching physicians and people and staff that was above my credentials, and I had the reign. So this statement, or I don't know what you would call it, it has some truth in it, but I don't believe that it's 100%. But that's my perspective. It could be 100% true to someone else. That's a lot. It's a lot. And that's the hard thing about when people write very hard information and they put it there as facts, because I could read it and be like, yes, this is facts, but it's situational. It's not concrete for every situation and every person. So
now
that's just my
opinion. Now let me kind of unpack this the way I'm looking at it.
Okay.
So you have your own business, correct?
Correct.
I have my own business, correct?
Right.
But when we signed up for our business to get our EIN numbers, when we signed up and we register our business in the state of Texas, what form did we fill out to let people know that we were African American and Black? Remember that form though? We had to fill out.
I didn't fill out a diversification form. I didn't.
No, it was part of the form though. It wanted to know what race, because a lot of that information goes to the Census Bureau and all
you
that.
Said
right?
What form did we fill out? Like
I don't recall the actual number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that is how we are still in a system where everything is subjugated upon race, because essentially I could have been denied because they knew what race I was. And at any time, my label, my brand, my patent, my copyright, my logo can actually be wiped away if the white supremacists believe that I'm doing too well, or they don't agree with anything that I have going on, because they know what businesses are black businesses. There is a ledger. There is a ledger. That's how people know, like, oh, here's a website of black businesses. Here's a website of Hispanic businesses. Here's a website of Asian brand businesses.
I totally understand.
Yeah. So why do you need to know my race?
I agree with that to some extent. And I say that because I've gone to, there's a chamber of commerce for minority business owners. So that could work in the flip side. You can get grants because you're a minority. You can get, you can network and things of that nature because you're a minority. And I'm just giving a flip side because you gave the hardcore other side.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, why do they need to know? But at the same time, you want that grant. You want, I mean, it could work both ways. I've had more than one business. This is not my first business. I've had several businesses. And have I ever got denied? No. Have I ever got turned down because of my race? I will never know that.
You would never know?
I would never know that. And so me saying, oh yeah, they want to know this because of my race. Well, how would I know? How would I know? I wouldn't. So, I mean, that labor thing is out there. I could say all day, yeah, it's because of my race, but how would I know?
Let's see who's in the chat. Nolan Baptiste, good evening, good sir. Thank you for joining us. War Profiteer, I see you on your little rampage there. No hard feelings, good sir. We have Stephen Gardner. Hi, Stephen, from me and Yolanda. Javier Falou, como esta? One of my guys I actually served with. I'm glad to see you in the chat, my brother. All right, we're moving on to the next topic on Dr. Neeley's Fuller's list. We're going to talk about law. Okay, I'm going to read a segment and then we're going to give our perspective on it. Regardless of what you may have been told, expect at all times to be mistreated as a result of so-called laws and or legal system that you are involved in or subject to during the existence of the system of white supremacy. Do not expect truth to be revealed or used in a manner that result in justice and or correctness through so-called lawmaking that is directly or indirectly dominated by racism and or racist man or woman in white supremacy collectively. At best, expect only the expression of so-called concern or sympathy. According to the compensatory logic, a law is anything that is done. This means that every time any police person does anything, he or she is practicing, enacting, enforcing, etc., a law or whatever it is that is being done. It is important to know and to understand that law is not the same as justice. Now, we already know what's going on, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to go through the list of non-white people getting killed, non-white people getting shot, non-white people getting hung, still getting hung in this day and age, non-white people getting suffocated by those who protect and serve. You know, this reminds me of what Barack Obama said on his interview with Tom Joyner. Tom Joyner interviews Barack Obama. Tom Joyner, he introduced Barack Obama. He said, hey, everyone, you know, welcome to Tom Joyner Morning Show, all that good stuff. Hey, everyone, it's our first black president, Barack Obama. Barack Obama says, Tom, I don't consider myself, or I don't use the term black because black has no standing in law.
Yeah.
Black has no standing in law. Now, I want you guys to go research that or check out this channel. There was a video done. It's called The Black Post. It's a black fist called The Black Post. And they deconstruct the whole term about it. Actually is named what Obama said to Tom Joyner. Okay, what Obama told to Tom Joyner. It's a really good video. It's really going to give you guys information about the word black. This is in America. This is in the Western world. Also in the UN. This is actually worldwide that black has no standing in law, meaning people who consider themselves black, you have no justice. You have no justice, right? You have to follow the law. Even if you follow the law, it doesn't mean anything because you cannot be protected when you consider yourself black. Now, Barack Obama on his census form, he said that he was African American. I think he wrote it in, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but he never, you would never hear Barack Obama consider himself a black person. Now, considering the law and everything that's happened, not just this year, okay, I'm not going to go back to slavery. Yeah, we heard. I got it. We already know. But do you believe, my dear, I'm going to keep it real. Do African Americans in this country, do African descendants of slaves in this country, do African descendants of Africa, okay, we're African descendants of Africa, do we have law? Do we have justice in this country? Do we have standing? Do we have justice in this country?
I don't think I have to answer that question. This really, I don't think I have to answer that question. I think this, what's going on right now, all over the world. All over the world, and not only just in this country. It speaks for itself. It doesn't matter what I think or not think. The proof is in the pudding. I always say actions speak louder than words. If I went and said, yes, I thought we had justice, I would be proven wrong by the actions of the law. So
of the law, yeah.
I'm
not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. Let's move on because we got a couple more. We got about 4 more. And I think, you guys can ask questions. Make sure you're reading some of their comments, see if there's anything impertinent, okay? War profiteer, raised black fist is racist. Okay. Obama is Kenyan. Okay. I don't want to entertain people like that. So let him do his thing. All right. Politics. The system of white supremacy. What is it and how does it work? It's specifically designed and intended to result in both white people and non-white people thinking, speaking, and acting in a manner that is tragic, shameful, disgraceful, loathsome, contemptuous, grotesque, vulgar, obscene, indecent, etc. During the existence of white supremacy, the interactions between white people and non-white people and between non-white people and each other can be described as tacky, trashy, and or terroristic, or the tragic arrangement. The term, the tragic arrangement, means that the sum total of all things that non-white people and white people think, say, do, or not think, say, or do in regard to their interactions with each other in all areas of activity, including economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, and counter war. I'm not going to do it.
I'm not doing it.
I'm not going to do this one because now a lot of you may know the history of some of the Black Wall Streets. We need to understand there was more than one Black Wall Street. And I believe, and then a lot of you are not going to agree with this because it's coming from the Nation of Islam leader. I forget his name. Elijah Muhammad. He broke down how segregation was the best thing for Black people because when we became integrated, that is when the fall of African American in this country actually began. When we were segregated, there was a lot of atrocities that occurred to African Americans in this country. And then as we became integrated, he says, that is when the Black family fell. That is when the African American economy fell, because white supremacy, and again, I want to point this out. We're not saying that all white people are racist or part of white supremacy, but we are acknowledging and giving context to that the Western world, and primarily the entire world, is under white supremacy as a system. That is what we're saying. Okay. But again, I'm gonna move on. I was about to go too deep on that one. I don't want to do that. Let's get on something that's near and dear everyone's heart. Religion. I know. This is about to get deep.
Well, yeah.
I got a little bit to say on this one, but I'm gonna hold my tongue. I'm gonna hold my tongue on some. Okay. According to counter-racist logic, religion means the sum total of everything that a person thinks and everything that he or she says, plus everything that he or she does. A religion includes all parts of a person's existence, each minute of each day. Even if those parts are never put into words, they are still a part of a person's religion if that person willfully and deliberately speaks and acts according to those parts. Religion is not separate from existence. Religion is not separate from your existence, nor is it separate from any part of existence. To put an end to unnecessary arguments about what religion does or does not mean, pay greater attention to what people actually do and compare what they actually do with what they themselves have said that their choice of religion requires them to do. So basically, when somebody tells you their religion, don't even worry about what they actually say. Like, oh yeah, praise, yeah, okay. Let's see the actions of that person. Let's see the actions of your person, because your character will tell me who you are. Your character will tell me your religion. Now, what do you? I'm gonna stop there. What do you have?
You mean, what do I have? I mean, it's self-explanatory. I said that 2 questions or 5 or 15 questions ago. Actions. You can talk to me all day. You can tell me what you want all day, but I'm looking at your actions. I'm looking at how you treat people. I'm looking at your character. You can tell me all day the grass is green, and until I go out there and see it for myself, I will not believe that. I'm not a person who believes empty words.
I have a question.
Sure.
How can, during slavery, you impose your religion on a group of people and have them to pray to your God, and now today, majority of African Americans are Christian. Okay, are Christian, but that religion was indoctrinated, was beaten, and throughout generations and centuries, we have totally changed we don't even know the religions of Africa. We have no idea. Now we can go research. I mean, I know some of them, but essentially a lot of African Americans do not know what their religion would have been according to their country, according to their city, according to their tribe, according to their village, if we were never taken from our homeland. Now, granted, there's going to be some people out there saying, oh, well, your people sold you guys into slavery.
What does that have to do with religion? We're talking about religion.
But that's what people are going to do. Okay. They like to deflect on the argument. Okay, but I'm not going to get into anyone's belief system. But how can you and I read from the same book of love, compassion, as you are killing me?
It's just, that circles back to the exact same question earlier, or the exact same statement as earlier. I am not looking at I'm not waiting for you to tell me something. I'm looking at your actions. If your actions doesn't meet up with what you say, with the words that are coming out of your mouth, I love everyone and I do this and I do that, but at the same time, the people that you're killing, then you're a farce. Like you're speaking empty words. So
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you believe Martin Luther King handicapped Black people? Do you believe he handicapped them? Do you believe he weaponized them? Do you believe he gave them a sense of being? Like, I know there's like three total different directions.
First of all, that's a loaded question because some people were empowered by Martin Luther King,
definitely,
and what he stood for, and some people were handicapped because they lived on every word he spoke. Yeah. And what we don't realize is men are men. We make mistakes. We do the wrong thing. No one on this earth is perfect. I have not seen one, not one yet. And so I could say yes and no to all of those questions. It has nothing to do with the man, but everything to do with men in general. It has nothing to do with Martin Luther King. We all have fallen short in the eyes of someone, and we all have been a hero in the eyes of someone. And so me speaking on the man, rest his, God rest his soul. It doesn't make sense because I'm not the judge of his life and who he boosted and who he put down. He's not a person that I would say he let me down or he let me because I wasn't living during his time of reign. So
I agree with you on some parts. I believe that Dr. Martin Luther King actually empowered, motivated, encouraged a lot of people to do a lot of great things in the civil rights movement and what he'd done for African Americans.
Sure.
On the other hand, I did not believe in everything. Again, I don't want anyone to take this out of context. I don't believe that in everything that African Americans should have been nonviolent. I don't believe that. I believe what Malcolm X basically said. And a lot of people believe that Malcolm X was a warmonger in a sense. No, he said, if somebody put their hands on me, I'm going to kill them. I'm going to protect myself. I'm going to protect my family. Now, we need to understand that Dr. Martin Luther King was a Christian versus Malcolm X being a Muslim.
What does that have to do with
because Dr. Martin Luther King did a lot of peaceful things based upon his religion because of Jesus.
Yes and no.
Right, he chewed one cheek, turn the other cheek, essentially.
But that's taking a lot of things out of context. And
how so?
First of all, your religion and the way that you handle yourself, as far as defending yourself, is two different things.
He never defended himself.
Okay,
as far as physically,
but that was his choice. I know plenty of Christian people that will defend themselves.
But what did Jesus do? When Jesus was attacked, did Jesus ever react? When Jesus was attacked, did Jesus ever retaliate? No.
He didn't retaliate, but we're not Jesus.
Okay, but if you are a Christian, then you are following the teachings of Jesus. You're following the teachings of Christianity. You're following the teachings of the Bible. And we fall short.
Okay.
So basically you're saying, wait a minute, what are you saying then? Are you what I'm saying is I believe in a sense that Dr. Martin Luther King handicapped African Americans not to retaliate, to protect ourselves. A lot of us got killed, injured, as John Lewis was saying, getting a good trouble because he got beat up. And I'm like, dude, you don't get no accolades because you got beat up. Like you.
And I understand that and I get that, but that's the thing. We have a choice. I mean, when you choose to follow a man versus you're true to yourself and come up with your own synapses in your mind of what is right and wrong and how you're gonna your demeanor and things of that nature, that's what you fall prey to. They were chosen to be led by this man. So that's a choice. If you don't want to defend yourself, okay, that's on you. You can't maybe he somehow skewed them in that direction, but you can't put all the men that didn't defend themselves during that time and during those marches and things of that nature on Martin Luther King's back, because it was a choice, just like everything else in life.
My question is,
just like these people in cults, and they lead people and the people follow them and then they all kill themselves. That's a choice. You can't do that.
Okay, so my question is, Malcolm X was a Muslim.
Okay.
Martin Luther King was a Christian.
Okay.
Do you believe that their religious belief and followings has something to do how they went about their lives?
I can't answer that.
Because it says right here, it says, give me 1 second. I want to get back to that part. It says, even if those parts are never to be put into words, they are still a part of a person's religion. If that person willfully and deliberately speaks and acts according to those parts, meaning his religion. Religion is not separate from existence, nor is it separate from any part of existence. To put an end to unnecessary arguments about what religion does or does not mean, pay greater attention to what people actually do and compare what they actually do with what themselves has said that their choice of religion requires them to do.
And that's fine.
So basically, there's a lot of Christians who are going to protect themselves, right? Like if you hit me, I'm gonna hit you back. Like I'm defending myself. But again, what they actually do with themselves and have said that their choice of religion requires them to do. What does Christianity require people to do? To turn the other cheek. That's what.
That means don't get revenge.
Don't get revenge.
That does not mean don't protect yourself. There's also wisdom. And if someone comes to me with a gun and I have a gun, I'm not going to be like, oh, let me turn around and turn my back and walk away when he's going to shoot me in my back. There's wisdom in everything. And that's why I said a lot of things are taken out of context. And this definition of religion is one man's perspective. He has some things, I believe, that are true or facts based on what he said, but some things are not, according to what I believe. And so it's like asinine, dude, to keep reading it and talking about it because everybody's perspective is going to be different.
Okay.
I just, that's just the way I look at it.
I had a tough question for you, but I think I'm gonna digress on it. No, you
can ask me.
You sure?
Sure.
I'm gonna ask you this question. Are you ready?
Yeah.
During the civil rights movement of the 1960s, do you believe in the way that Martin Luther King handled it, or do you believe in the way that Malcolm X would have handled it?
I believe in both. And
All
let
right.
me tell you why.
Okay.
Every situation, negative situation that you're in does not deserve a response.
Every negative situation that you're in does not require a response. Okay.
Meaning, some things you can do and take with peace. I've been hit before and not hit back and walked away, and I was fine.
Did you with a donut?
No, they hit me with a fist, actually.
Okay.
And I walked away and everything turned out fine. And then I believe in what Malcolm X said, because if you sometimes, like I said, I've been in situations, I've seen situations where people come at people with knives and things, or, just anything. And you have to defend yourself. I'm not going to just lay down and die because I want to turn the other cheek. So like I said, some situations you have to evaluate that for self. I can't tell you to your standard what you should respond to peacefully and what you should respond to with defense. And that's why I say it's a choice. I can't let you lead me and how I feel I should react or respond.
So basically, my actions do not control your response.
Exactly.
I love it.
They don't.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we got two more topics. We're going to go over sex. We're going to go over war and counter war. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber to Financial Literacy 101, please go ahead and subscribe. So we're going to move on here. And again, go and give us a thumbs up, please, if you like what we're going over. And if you don't like what we're going over, but you're still here, give it a thumbs up as well. We appreciate both thumbs up.
Exactly.
We appreciate both thumbs up. All right. Sex, according to logic, is any interaction between a male and a female. Okay. For all of my LGBTQ community, I am reading, information by Dr. Neeley Fuller. Do not take offense to this. So again, I'm reading. Sex, according to logic in any interaction between a male and a female that may or may not include one or more varieties of sexual intercourse and or sexual play. The remarks and suggestions made herein are made with the intention of being helpful and producing constructive results pertaining to non-white people in their sexual arrangements during the existence of the system of white supremacy. It is important to know and to understand that during the existence of and because the system of white supremacy, no sexual arrangement of any kind will be what it should be. To expect it to be what it should be is to invite disappointment and or unnecessary confusion and conflict. Now, a lot of people will like to believe that white supremacy have a direct hand in a lot of African American men becoming bisexual and becoming gay. Do you believe that? That's a tough one.
It's tough.
Do you believe?
Because I can't blame. I can't blame someone else's preference. That's just too much power for me. I can't negate it, but at the same time, I can't champion it. It's a lot. We had this conversation, I think, on like our second video that we did together.
I think we touched on it.
We touched on
because there's a lot of African American men wearing dresses. They're cross-dressing. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're gay, but even Tyler Perry, who made billions of dollars dressing as Medea. But one of the facts, other than your Denzel Washington, your Morgan Freeman, your Samuel Jackson, other black actors, male actors, in order to form, to be famous in a sense, wore a dress. Like if you see a lot of old actors like Wesley Snipes wore a dress. Now, granted, there's been white actors as well, but what they're saying is with the being a minority in this country, with the percent of black male actors wearing a dress, there's so many of them. Now we have our sons, we have even our men, cross-dressing, becoming either bisexual or something. Do you believe that this is a ploy or been employed by white supremacy on the black community to divide and conquer us? Because that is how you win most wars. This is how you conquer a people, right? That's how they did even in colorism. Like, you're brown skin, you get to go in the house. I'm dark skinned, I'm big. Either you having sex with the other slaves or you out there picking cotton. So again, they're using different tactics, supposedly, to separate black people, because together we are powerful, divided we fall.
I understand that, but I don't think it is so much deeper than that. This subject goes far beyond this conversation, and we talk about it all the time. It stems from so much. It's not only just seeing it on TV. We talk about the absence of fathers in the home, the absence of mothers in the home, and the child feeling that, we're like, kids are gay.
Wait, whoa. You said that fathers are absent from the black fathers are absent from the home.
And I said black mothers.
Do you know one of the major reasons why black fathers are absent from the home?
They're incarcerated. Mass
incarceration.
That's why I said it's deeper than just seeing it on TV.
It's crazy because we're in the election year. We kind of flew past politics, but now I'm not going to beat up Joe Biden, because a lot of you, I'm not affiliated with any political party, but we understand the 1994 crime bill. I'm not going to beat a dead horse on that. We're not going to go over the truancy law. I'm not going to go over with that. I'm not going to go over the crime prevention bill. I'm not going to go over that. I'm not going to go over the Blue Shield law. Okay. I'm not going to go over that. Okay, I'm not going to go over it. Okay, I'm just saying, though, people also believe that these laws that are in place in this country, how they highly affect African American men to be not in the home and in jail, strung out on drugs on the street, while we have our black women taking care of our boy children.
And lack of that, because they're working.
Right? You, now, as a male, I grew up in a household without a father. Okay, so my aunts was my only role models, right? When I got around other men, they told me that some of my mannerisms were feminine. But I mean, I have nothing against homosexuality. You do what you do, but I'm a heterosexual male. But they said the way I gesture, the way I put my hand motions, sometimes how I position my body was very feminine. But my only role model in the home were women. Okay, now granted, I have a few male mentors, but majority of my time was under parenting of women.
No, I get what you're saying, and that's where I was going.
Okay.
And you went there, so that's fine. And again, I was saying that it's more than just a visual aid on TV. It's much deeper than that, and so to be able to touch every surface of every part of this topic, we would have to dive deep in that, and I'm gonna leave it right there.
All right. Before we touch on our last topic, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. If you don't like this video and you're still here, give us a thumbs up. I'm going to read some of your notes and we're going to finish. All right. I see that War Profiteer, he is saying a lot. He said MLK protested peacefully in the daytime. Okay. Javier Falou said, problem is Christianity has become a big part of Africa due to European colonization.
Yes.
He's right. And Falou, my brother Falou is a Puerto Rican. And he understands that Puerto Ricans are mainly derived of the Spanish and African slaves brought to the island of Puerto Rico. Is it an island or a peninsula? I think it's an island. All right, anyway. Geography was my strong suit. War Prophet said, Jesus died so all lives matter. Your perspective, sir. I won't beat you up about it. Gerald Brockett said, Jesus' peace will follow his example. M. Lanka says, good evening, host and guests. Well, good evening, ma'am. Willie May said, don't forget Allah for a guy. Okay, I think he's maybe talking about a stock. Stephen Gardner says, I believe as a Christian, I have a right to defend myself and protect my life. Okay, all right. Yeah, you touched on it. War Profiteer again, after the many ones have been deleted, they choose to wear a dress. They could say, no. That's true. That's true. That's true.
That is true.
But they believe in order for them to succeed in Hollywood under a system of white supremacy, that they had to go along with roles and going in particular scenes that they didn't agree with to actually make it. I know and it sounds like I'm protecting them.
No. You're not protecting him, but you're just really, it's a choice. And we talked about that early on. If you, just like you choose to follow your leader, you choose, it's a choice. How bad do you want it? Do you want to sell who you are, your character, to get whatever you want? It's a choice. And so,
okay, now I want to read this one right here by Willie May. Ooh, Willie May, don't you do it. I'm about to act straight fool up in here. I'm about to act straight fool because Willie May say, what about hormone, steroid, and things of that nature and what we are eating, caught in so much homosexuality? Okay. Willie May, you didn't open up a can of whoop ass on this show today. Okay, now supposedly so-called that white supremacists, they know that majority of the black race, that African Americans live in poverty or below the poverty line. So most of the food that we buy are either boxed or canned. And in that food, they have all sorts of GMOs. They have all sorts of steroids and hormones. Like you and I, anytime that we eat food, what do we look for? Organic and what? Grass-fed. That things don't have antibiotics and gluten and all these other things that are in the food. I remember having a conversation with a friend of mine. We were talking about how he, came from Africa and we got here. He gained like 20 pounds. He like, what's in the food? I didn't change my diet at all. What's in this food? And I had to break it down to him. So Willie May, you are absolutely, in my opinion, right. I believe that there is some sort of system, because here's the thing. Now, granted, there's some preservative that have to be in the food to preserve it, but there's a lot of things that go inside the food that they absolutely don't have to put in the food that produces hormones. Why you think women, little girls, let me take that back. Let me back up. I apologize. young ladies, young girls are developing faster than they did when I was younger, right? I'm driving and I'm seeing young ladies, 12, 13, 14 with women bodies. Like, how are you? And if somebody tells me evolution, shoot yourself in the pinky toe. But but these are the things that, like, you know what? I have so much information on that. I don't want to. War Prophetess says sexuality is a choice. Now, Mr. War, I'm not gonna get into it. I'm not. Yeah. You run with that one, kind sir. We're gonna head on to our last topic. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like this video, give it a thumbs up because you're still here and you are enjoying this live cast. Anyway, here's the last section, war. According to Dr. Neeley Fuller, the interview he did, it said, as long as white supremacy exists, always think, speak, and act as if you are in a battle zone. And that people, white or non-white, may do you bodily harm at all time in any place. Do not think that any place in the known universe is safe. At all times, do your best to be prepared to fight or to flee unjust attacks. Danger in the form of injustice and or incorrectness exists in every place in the known universe. The white supremacists, the racists, collectively intend to practice white supremacy forever. Therefore, they will kill or help to kill enough non-white people in order to satisfy their needs to have fun. But they do not intend to kill so many that the non-white people remain. They kill or help to kill enough non-white people as to frighten those who remain. Hold up. So they don't want to kill us all. They want to kill enough of us for the rest of us to be scared. Right? Because we understand that African Americans, Hispanic Americans, right, that we are either right over the poverty line, at poverty, or below the poverty. And guess who's the working class? Now, granted, we understand there's some Caucasian European Americans, but we're talking about a wide scale, a full spectrum of people, right? So white people that include Arabs, they consider themselves white. I want you guys to go to ides.gov, and this is going to prove these are facts according to the American government, how they label white people. They said that white are any people from the original countries in Europe. White, any people from North Africa. White, Arabs. These are people who consider themselves white. And we understand that Arabs were the first to put Africans in slavery. A lot of people don't know that. But they don't want to kill all of us because they need a working class. They need a servitude class to serve them. Why do you think people go to the Caribbean and all these other Mexico? They go to these very cheap countries where the people look like you and I. Servitude. Now, I'm not going to get too deep. Again, this is a whole video by itself. I'm just going to read on. But this is what he says. They kill or help to kill enough non-white people as to frighten those who remain. This is the only way they can continue to enjoy practicing white supremacy. White supremacy not only enjoy killing non-white people, but they also enjoy terrorizing, confusing, intimidating, brutalizing, depriving, and making fun of the weakness, stupidity, and ignorance of non-white people. White supremacists intend to do this forever. This is the race war. Now, counter war. We're talking about war and counter war. According to counter racist logic, the white people of the known universe are very likely to show little or no serious interest in putting an end to the system of white supremacy and the harm that the system does to non-white people until their reaction that harm result in major and persistent dissatisfaction among white people, and done in such a manner that white people will regard justice, that's balance between people, as being better than racism. You see what I'm saying? Basically, what's saying here, if we begin to persist our resistance, we are persistent in our resistance of a system of white supremacy, meaning that we fight back, and that doesn't mean physically. That means in all matter of the word. That means socially, mentally, intellectually, physically. It means in all avenues, education. I mean, anything you can think of, meaning be persistent in our resistance. Okay? That's what he's saying here. I love this. I love this. This is how you counter war. This is how you counter white supremacy. Okay? He said the system does to non-white people until the reaction to that harm result in major and persistent dissatisfaction among white people, and done in such a manner that white people will regard justice, because that's what we don't have. Non-white people don't have justice unless you consider yourself white and you actually have white skin. Justice, balance between people as being better than racism. When white supremacy, which they never will do it, consider justice being better than racism, that's when essentially the war is over. But let me read on. In a known universe in which justice has not been produced, everyone who is able has the duty to do all that he or she can do to produce justice. In accordance with the law of compensatory counter-racism logic, and the law of counter-racist counter-war, white people who choose to disregard the harm that is done to non-white people, hold up, I'm going to read it again. White people who choose to disregard the harm that is done to non-white people as a result of white supremacy, as a result of white domestic terrorism, as a result of race soldiers, as a result of discrimination, as a result of racist racism, are entitled because of their disregard to receiving the same type of harm and or degree of harm that's inflicted upon non-white people. Gotta fly. Close to the lights. We have a friend with us, guys. It's called a fly, but we're going to let him do his thing. Now, before I let you respond, sweetie, I want to read what they have. Thank you, Stephen Garner is an island. Okay, I was right. Stephen Garner said Hollywood is gross. They take people wanting to be famous and make them to do terrible things to get a role, or they go into porn, or they take roles that go against their moral code. Joe Brockett said Dr. Neeley sounds deranged. That statement is fear-based and evil and full of crap. Where to even start? War profiteer is exactly fear-based. Stephen Gardner says he said is Puerto Rico an island or Peninsula? Okay. Yes, they do show people in search. Okay. Javier Falou says yes, they do, and like to show people in a stereotypical role. And War profiteer said, are you reading from Jet Magazine? Of course, he's just, I don't know. I don't know. Stephen says, I lived in Puerto Rico for 2 years, loved it. Which town are you from? They're talking, okay. And Joe Brockett said it's not a skin color thing, it's an identity issue. All right. What is your take on the war and the counter war? I know it's deep. Just give me something. Give me something that the people can go off of.
I don't want to hang on to just the last part that stuck in my head, but what's stuck in my head right now is the disregard that they show of non-white people getting harm done to. It's like they're if you're not for it, you're against it. If you're against it, you're for it. And so I believe that to be true. And like I said in an earlier comment, and I flipped it, I said the way that we stop it where we are is to help someone and bring someone along that is suffering from white supremacy. And I'm not saying that we're not all suffering from a form of white supremacy, but some of us are doing better than others. So we help one another by bringing each other to the forefront, opening eyes, and helping us and helping one another in business and everything. I said all that to say is to white people that are seeing the white supremacy and choose to turn a blind eye or close their eyes to it, they are
part of white supremacy.
Part of it. Part of it. If you say, "Oh, like our friend, oh, that's not true. It's not happening."
Oh, it's an identity issue. Now, let me before we get out of here, because we're a little bit over our time, but before we get out of here, I want to entertain Joe Brockett really second. But guys, if you like this discussion, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber to the channel, please subscribe. All right, Joe Brockett. War Prophet said, Ross, is your significant other black or non-black? Well, we're neither black. We're not black. We're African American. Because black has no standing in law. We are African descendants of Africa. We're African descendants of Africa. Take that and run with it, please, sir. Joe Brockett says, so what do you say to people who ignore things going on their race? To you, Mr. Brockett, I said, when people ask a question like that, they deflect from the problem that we're actually speaking about, which is white supremacy. That is what I say. What I say is that people in this world, they do what they conduct proximity killings. Proximity killings. When you have a black neighborhood, when you have a white neighborhood, when you have a Hispanic neighborhood, when you have an Asian neighborhood, regardless of where you are in the world, people mostly kill people that look like them. But when you are living in a system of white supremacy and you are a non-white person, okay, when you're a non-white person, when someone racially profiles you because of the color of your skin, white supremacy, and they kill you because they believe automatically, because they have already somehow in their mind psychologically believe that you are a threat, white supremacy. They kill you, they harm you, they incarcerate you, they imprison you based upon their fear or what may happen based upon their prejudice and racist views. So when someone of your nature, when someone of your stature asks a particular question like that, I know that one, you are not neutral. You are on the right of things. You're not on the left of things. You're not even in the middle of things. So, good sir, I would have you to go do research about the atrocity that African Americans go through by non-African Americans, because each race in this country, each race in this world has their own problems. And when people of your stature, good sir, you ask particular questions to deflect everything that we're trying to understand on this cast. See, that question right there is in support of white supremacy. And me saying that, you may not even understand that, but I will have you to educate yourself before asking questions that you simply have no knowledge of what you're truly asking. Just like War Profiteer said, all lives matter. We know that already, but we're talking about black lives. But even though we know that white supremacy doesn't give a F about black lives, they only care about a certain percentage of us existing to serve their bidding. We understand that as African American people. We understand as African people around the world, because what we need to understand, there's Africans in Mexico. There's Afro-Mexicans. They had slavery and Africans in India. Okay, look that information up. There has been slavery of the African people in almost every country in this world, even the continent of Africa where they were colonized. So good, sir. Hopefully you learned a little bit of information today. And to all my people who support this channel, I love you for coming out. And for those who don't support it, come out and get educated. You got anything to say, baby? I love you guys, and good night. And Joe Brockett, please learn what white supremacy really is and your support of it. We're out.